They divided Mom's house among all my brothers and said, "You don't deserve anything." So I revealed I'd been paying the mortgage for 10 years and legally owned it all. Hey lovely people. Subscribe to be part of this family and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. With that, let's continue the story. I sat in Mama's living room, the smell of her lavender potpourri mixing with the tension thick enough to choke on. My 3 brothers, Fabian, Jerome and Kevin, were already there when I arrived, suits pressed, faces cold. They hadn't called me about this meeting. I found out from Aunt Pearl, who whispered it to me at the grocery store like it was some dirty secret. "Finally," Fabian said, not even looking up from his phone. He was the oldest, always acted like he ran everything. "We can get started now." My stomach twisted. Mama had been gone 3 months and I still couldn't walk past her bedroom without crying. The house felt empty without her gospel music playing on Sunday mornings, without her calling me baby girl, even though I was 38 years old. Jerome cleared his throat. He was the middle child, the smooth talker. "We're here to discuss the property division. The house obviously needs to be split fairly." "Fairly," I repeated, my voice barely steady. Kevin, the youngest at 32, finally spoke. He'd always been the quiet one, but Mama's death had turned him cold. "Between the men of the family. That's how Daddy would have wanted it." The words hit me like a slap. I looked around at these strangers wearing my brothers' faces. Where were the boys who used to protect me on the playground? Who taught me to ride a bike? "Excuse me," I managed to whisper. Fabian stood up, pulling out papers. "Legal documents." My heart started racing. "We've already talked to a lawyer," he said. "The house gets divided 3 ways. Between us." I stared at those papers like they were written in a foreign language. 3 names. Fabian J. Johnson. Jerome Samuel Johnson. Kevin Anthony Johnson. My name, Simone Marie Johnson, was nowhere to be found. "You can't be serious," I said, my voice shaking. The leather couch beneath me suddenly felt unfamiliar, like I was sitting in a stranger's house. But I'd grown up here. I'd taken my first steps on this very floor. "Dead serious," Jerome said, leaning back with his arms crossed. "Look, Simone, we're not trying to be harsh, but let's be real. You're a woman. You'll get married someday, take some man's name. This house should stay in the Johnson family name." The logic was so twisted it took me a moment to even process it. "I am a Johnson. I've been a Johnson for 38 years. "You know what he means," Kevin muttered, avoiding my eyes. That hurt worse than Fabian's coldness or Jerome's smugness. Kevin and I used to be close. He'd called me sis right up until Mama's funeral. Fabian shuffled his papers. "Besides, we're the ones who'll carry on the family legacy. We've got kids, responsibilities. You're still single, still renting that apartment downtown." "Because I've been helping Mama." The words exploded out of me. "While y'all were busy with your lives, who was here? Who took her to chemotherapy? Who sat with her during those long nights when she couldn't sleep?" "That was your choice," Jerome said coolly. The room started spinning. This couldn't be happening. These weren't my brothers. They couldn't be. "My choice." I stood up, my whole body trembling. "Mama was dying and you're telling me being there for her was a choice?" Fabian held up his hand like he was directing traffic. "Nobody's saying you didn't help out. We appreciate that. But appreciation doesn't equal ownership. The law is clear. Without a will, the property gets divided among the children." "All the children?" I shouted. "I'm her child too." "But there are considerations," Jerome interjected, his lawyer voice making me want to scream. He worked at some firm downtown, always talking about considerations and optics. "Traditional considerations. Mama and Daddy raised us with certain values. The man provides, the man protects. This house is a family asset and it should go to those who can properly maintain that legacy." I felt something crack inside me. Not break, crack. Like ice before it shatters completely. Mama never said anything like that. She loved me just as much. "Did she though?" Kevin's voice was quiet, but the words cut deep. "She never put your name on anything. Never made you a co-owner. Maybe that tells us something." The betrayal hit me in waves. I grabbed the back of the couch to steady myself. "You're twisting everything. Mama trusted me. She trusted all of us. Fabian started gathering his papers. Look, we're not throwing you out on the street. You've got time to get your things. We're planning to sell, split the proceeds 3 ways. Should fetch about 400,000. That's over 100 grand each. We're being more than fair. Fair. I whispered. You think this is fair? I walked to the mantel where Mama's picture sat. Her in that purple dress she loved, smile wide, eyes full of light. Behind it, barely visible, was a photo from 15 years ago. All of us together at her 60th birthday. We looked happy then. We looked like family. I need to show you something, I said quietly, my hand shaking as I reached for my purse. We're done here, Simone, Fabian said dismissively. We'll give you 2 weeks to clear out your personal items. After that, we're changing the locks. Something in me snapped. Not the crack from before. This was different. This was clarity cutting through shock. You're changing the locks? On a house you don't own? Jerome laughed. We just explained. No, I interrupted, pulling out my phone. You explained your version. You explained what you think the law says. But you didn't do your homework. Kevin frowned. What are you talking about? My fingers were steadying now, pulling up files I'd kept organized in a folder labeled Home. Bank statements. Legal documents. Property records. You mentioned Mama never put my name on anything. That she never made me a co-owner. Yeah, because it's true, Fabian scoffed. I looked at each of them, these strangers who shared my blood. You're right. She didn't make me a co-owner. I paused, letting it sink in. She didn't need to. Because 10 years ago, when the bank threatened foreclosure, when Mama was about to lose everything, I bought this house. From the bank. With MY money. My name is on the deed. My name has been on it for a decade. The silence was deafening. 10 years earlier. I could still remember that day like it was yesterday. Mama's hands were shaking when she showed me the foreclosure notice. 3 months behind on the mortgage. Daddy had been gone 2 years and his life insurance money had run out. The medical bills from his cancer had eaten through everything. Baby girl, she'd whispered, tears streaming down her face. I don't know what to do. I can't lose this house. This is where we raised you children. Where your daddy proposed to me. Where, she couldn't finish. Just sobbed. I was 28 then, working 2 jobs. Teaching during the day, bartending at night. I'd just gotten a small inheritance from my grandmother on Daddy's side. $20,000. It was supposed to be my future, my security, my way out of paycheck to paycheck living. How much do you owe? I asked. $68,000 on the mortgage. Plus the back payments, the fees. She looked defeated. Maybe $90,000 total to make it right. I did the math. My inheritance plus my savings plus if I took out a personal loan. Mama, what if we did something different? What if I bought the house from the bank? Her eyes went wide. Baby, no. That's too much. That's your future. You're my future, I'd said. This family is my future. Let me do this. Present day. You're lying, Fabian said, but his voice had lost its confidence. Mama would have told us. Would she? I asked. Would she have told the sons who barely called? Who showed up on holidays expecting a feast but never asked how she was managing? I pulled up the property records on my phone, hands no longer shaking. I'd been afraid for so long. Afraid of confrontation, afraid of seeming ungrateful, afraid of disrupting family peace. But standing here, facing their greed and cruelty, fear had transformed into something else entirely. Power. Here, I said, holding the screen toward Fabian. County property records. Owner of record, Simone Marie Johnson. Purchase date, April 15th, 10 years ago. Purchase price, $92,000, paid in full to settle the outstanding mortgage debt. Jerome snatched the phone from my hand, his eyes scanning frantically. His face went pale. This can't be right. Why wouldn't Mama tell us? Because I asked her not to, I said simply. I didn't want you treating her differently. Didn't want you thinking she was a charity case. And honestly, I looked at each of them. I didn't think it mattered. We were family. I thought when the time came we'd handle everything with love and respect. Kevin stood up, agitation replacing his earlier coldness. But you've been living here rent-free. Wrong, I cut him off. I've been paying every single expense on this house for 10 years. Property taxes, insurance, maintenance. When the roof needed replacing 5 years ago, $12,000. Out of my pocket. When the furnace died 2 winters ago, $8,000. Me again. Add it up, Kevin. I've put over $200,000 into this property. Fabian was reading something on his own phone now, his jaw clenched. Even if this is true. If. My voice rose. You can verify it yourself. Call the county clerk. Call the bank. It's all public record. Jerome set my phone down carefully, his lawyer brain clearly working overtime. Okay, let's say this is accurate. That doesn't change the fact that Mama lived here. She had rights. This was still her home, regardless of whose name was on paper. You're absolutely right, I agreed, watching his surprise. It was her home. I made sure of that. She lived here rent-free for 10 years. I never asked her for a dime. Never made her feel like anything less than the owner. Because I loved her. Because she was my mother. Then why hide it? Fabian demanded. Why keep it secret? I didn't hide it. I just didn't broadcast it. I sat back down, suddenly exhausted. When I bought the house, Mama was humiliated. She'd failed in her mind. Failed to keep the home Daddy left her. So we made an agreement. She'd live here as long as she wanted, and we wouldn't tell anyone about the financial arrangement. It was about protecting her dignity. Kevin's expression softened slightly, a crack in the armor. That does sound like something Mama would want. But it doesn't explain why you're bringing this up now, Jerome pressed. After she's gone. Seems convenient, doesn't it? Wait until she can't confirm or deny. Are you kidding me? I jumped to my feet again. I'm bringing it up because you just tried to steal my house. You came in here with your paperwork and your plans, ready to divide property that isn't yours, ready to throw me out like garbage. That's dramatic, Fabian started. Is it? Is it dramatic when you told me I don't deserve anything? When you said I wasn't really family because I might get married someday? The room fell silent. Outside I could hear kids playing, someone mowing their lawn. Normal Saturday sounds. But inside this house our family was imploding. You want to know the worst part? I said quietly, feeling tears finally break through. It's not even about the house. Not really. It's that you looked at me, your sister, and decided I was worth nothing. You erased me. You made me invisible. Kevin looked away. Good. He should feel ashamed. Do you know what I sacrificed for this family? My voice cracked. I put off college because Daddy got sick and someone needed to help with bills. I stayed local instead of taking that job in New York because Mama needed me. When Fabian, you got divorced, who watched your kids every weekend for 6 months? When Jerome, your house flooded, who took you in? Kevin, when you lost your job, who loaned you $5,000 that you still haven't paid back? We didn't ask you to do those things, Fabian said weakly. No, you didn't ask. Because family shouldn't have to ask. Family should just show up. Tears were streaming down my face now. But apparently I'm not family. Not really. Not when it matters. Not when there's money involved. Jerome stood up, running his hand over his face. He looked older, suddenly tired. Simone, maybe we approached this wrong. Maybe. I laughed bitterly. You think. But you have to understand our position, he continued. We didn't know about any of this. We thought the house was part of Mama's estate. We were trying to be fair. By excluding me completely? That's your version of fair. Fabian crossed his arms, defensive posture back in place. So what now? You're going to kick us out? Prove you're just as petty? Petty. The word hung in the air. You think protecting what's legally and morally mine is petty? We're still her children, Kevin said. She'd want us to have something. She wanted all of us to have something, I corrected. She wanted us to take care of each other. To be there for each other. She wanted family. I grabbed my purse, pulling out a folder I'd brought just in case. I'd hoped I wouldn't need it. You know what's in here? Mama's last words to me. From 3 months before she died, when she was still lucid, still sharp. I opened it, hands trembling, and pulled out a handwritten letter. Mama's distinctive looping cursive filled the page. She wrote this after her first stroke, I said softly. She was scared she wouldn't be able to communicate clearly later. So she wrote me a letter. Want to know what it says? None of them answered, but I read it anyway, voice breaking on every word. My precious Simone, if you're reading this, I'm probably gone or close to it. I need you to know how grateful I am for everything you've done. You saved this house. You saved my dignity. You gave up so much, and I know your brothers don't see it, but I do. I see every sacrifice. This house is yours, baby girl. Legally and morally. Don't let anyone tell you different. And if they try, if my boys forget what family means, you stand your ground. I love all my children, but you earned this. You earned it. The silence after I finished reading was absolute. I carefully folded the letter back into the folder, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. Mama's words echoed in the room like a ghost, like she was standing right there with us, finally speaking the truth she'd kept quiet for so long. That's convenient too, Fabian finally said, but his voice lacked conviction. A letter nobody knew about. It's dated, I snapped. It's notarized. Her signature is witnessed by her attorney, Mr. Henderson. You remember him? He handled Daddy's estate? He's still practicing. You're welcome to call him. He has a copy in his files. Jerome sat back down heavily. Jesus, Simone. Don't, I said sharply. Don't you dare invoke Jesus now. Not after what you tried to do. I looked at each of them, really looked at them, and saw strangers. When had they become these people? When had greed eaten away the brothers I'd loved? I want you to understand something, I continued, my voice steady now, cold even. I didn't come here to fight. I came here thinking we'd grieve together, maybe look through Mama's things, share memories. I thought we'd figure out her belongings with love and respect. I was even ready to give you items from the house. Furniture, photos, whatever meant something to you. But instead, I gestured to their paperwork scattered on the coffee table. You came with legal documents. You came ready for war. You came prepared to erase me from this family completely. Kevin finally spoke, voice barely a whisper. What do you want from us, Simone? Nothing, I said, the word echoing. Absolutely nothing. Because that's exactly what you decided I deserved. You have 24 hours to remove your personal belongings from this house, I said, pulling out my own legal documents. Eviction notices I'd prepared with my attorney just yesterday after Aunt Pearl's warning. Anything left after that becomes property of the estate. My estate. You can't be serious. Fabian stood up, face reddening. You'd really throw us out? Your own brothers. My own brothers already threw me out, I shot back. Or did you forget? 2 weeks, you said. 2 weeks to clear out my personal items from my own house. Well, I'm being more generous than you were. You get 24 hours. This is vindictive, Jerome accused. This is legal, I interrupted. This is legal. This is fair. This is me protecting myself from people who've proven they don't have my best interests at heart. I handed each of them an envelope. These are formal eviction notices. They're also invitations. If you want to contest this, we can meet in court. My attorney is excellent. We've documented everything. Every payment I've made. Every expense. Every time I put this family first. Kevin opened his envelope, read it, and something in his face crumpled. Sis, don't call me that, I said quietly, and that seemed to hurt him more than anything else I'd said. You don't get to call me that anymore. You made it clear. I'm not really your sister. Not when it counts. We made a mistake. Kevin tried again. We were wrong, okay? We admit it. But this, cutting us off completely, that's not you. That's not who you are. You're right, I agreed, surprising them. It's not who I was. But you know what? That woman, the one who sacrificed everything, who put everyone else first, who let herself be invisible, she's gone. The next 3 weeks were brutal. Fabian hired a lawyer who sent threatening letters. Jerome tried going through extended family, painting me as the villain, the ungrateful daughter who stole her mother's house. Kevin just disappeared. Stopped answering calls, stopped showing up to family functions. Aunt Pearl stayed loyal though. "Baby," she told me over coffee one morning, "your mama would be proud. Not happy, she'd hate seeing her children fight, but proud that you stood up for yourself." "I don't feel proud," I admitted. "I feel empty." "That's grief," she said wisely. "Grief for the family you thought you had. It's okay to mourn that." The house felt different now. I'd walk through rooms full of memories. Mama teaching me to cook in the kitchen, Daddy reading bedtime stories in what used to be my bedroom, all of us gathered for holidays around the dining table, and wonder if love had ever really lived here or if I just imagined it all. Fabian's lawyer eventually backed down when my attorney sent over the complete documentation. Turns out, when you actually own property legally and can prove you've maintained it for a decade, there's not much legal recourse for people trying to claim it. Jerome stopped calling extended family after Aunt Pearl set the record straight at church one Sunday. The truth has a way of getting out no matter how people try to twist it. But the silence from Kevin hurt most. We'd been close once. Real close. I kept thinking he'd call, apologize, try to rebuild what we'd lost. But weeks turned into months and nothing. Then one day, 6 months after Mama's funeral, I got a letter. Kevin's handwriting on the envelope. I almost didn't open it. What could he possibly say that would matter now? But curiosity won, and I sat at Mama's kitchen table, my kitchen table, and read. *Sis, I know I don't deserve to call you that. I know I don't deserve your time or attention. But I need to say this even if you never respond. We destroyed something precious. Not just your trust in us, but something deeper. We destroyed the family Mama and Daddy built. And the worst part? We did it willingly. We chose money over love. We chose pride over family. I chose to stay silent when I knew what Fabian and Jerome were doing was wrong. I told myself I needed the money, that my kids needed it, that it was just business. But it wasn't business. It was betrayal. I see that now. Too late, but I see it. You were always the best of us, Simone. The strongest, the kindest, the most selfless. And we punished you for it. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Not because you won. But because we lost. We lost you. And losing you means losing the last real piece of Mama. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know, you deserved better. You deserved brothers who saw your worth. I'm sorry we were blind. I read it 3 times, tears streaming down my face. Then I folded it carefully and put it in the drawer with Mama's letter. 2 pieces of paper. 2 truths. One about being valued, one about being lost. I never responded to Kevin. Not because I didn't forgive him, maybe I did, maybe I didn't, I still don't know. But because some broken things can't be fixed. Some families don't survive their own greed. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away from people who don't see your worth, even if they share your blood. I still live in Mama's house. My house. I've made it my own now. New paint, new furniture, new memories. Sometimes I hear her gospel music playing in my head and I smile. Sometimes I pass my brothers on the street and we nod but don't speak. And sometimes late at night I stand in this house that I saved, that I fought for, that I earned, and I feel both powerful and profoundly sad. Because I learned the hardest lesson. You can do everything right and still lose. You can sacrifice everything and still be seen as selfish. You can be family and still end up alone. But I also learned this. Your worth isn't determined by who values you. It's determined by what you value in yourself. And I value the woman who stood up, who fought back, who refused to be erased. Mama would have been proud of that woman. And that's enough. That has to be enough. If you found this story powerful, please like and subscribe. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had to choose between family and self-respect? What would you have done differently? Your stories matter too.